Hey everyone, my name is George Originales, aka Vapor, and you are listening to Radial Faith, Episode 3. Today I get to share with you a conversation that I had with Rose Pickens. Rose is the Initiative Director at Friends of North Rosenberg. Friends of North Rosenberg is an organization that works within the bigger organization called Attack Poverty. And what they do is they find communities that are impoverished and they set up a plan. I believe it's a 10-year plan. They go into this impoverished community and they say, hey, how can we lift these people out of poverty? And as Rose will say in the conversation, it's not about a handout, but it's about a hand up. It's about development, not charity. This conversation is so good because we get to hear from Rose Pickens, who was raised in the community that she is now serving in. When the topic of poverty comes up, it can go very negatively, very quickly, because so many people bring in their preconceived notions about poverty. But this conversation is so good because we get to hear what poverty is and how to help people out of it. We get to hear from the perspective of someone who is on the ground working with an impoverished community. So this is that conversation with Rose Pickens, the Initiative Director at Friends of North Rosenberg. So I'm on the line right now with Miss Rose Pickens from Friends of North Rosenberg. How are you doing, Rose?
Doing great, thanks.
Great. So as I mentioned, you are working with Friends of North Rosenberg as the initiative director. Can you tell us a little bit about what your responsibilities are as the initiative director and what it is that Friends of North Rosenberg does?
Okay. So Friends of North Rosenberg is a community resource located in North Rosenberg. Our parent company is Attack Poverty, and our mission is to empower people to attack poverty in their own life and community. So it's about a hand up and not a handout. It's about development and not charity. We have after school programs for children that are at risk of not passing to the next grade level, or they're not going to pass the state mandated test. We have adult education programs, including English as a second language, GED prep, Jobs for Life, our basic computer classes. We also have revitalization programs that include home repairs for the elderly, or single parents, or people who are not financially capable to make home repairs. We make those critical home repairs, including wheelchair ramps, or minor roof repair, or replacing flooring. And then, of course, we have community events. We do a Breaking Bread in the community event the Saturday before Thanksgiving, where we invite the community in to enjoy a nice barbecue meal. And then at the end of the night, we actually bless 150 families to go home with a turkey dinner that they can prepare in their home. So we have a fellowship, we have praise and worship. It's a great community event.
That's awesome. And like you said, everything you mentioned, the ministry of Friends of North Rosenberg seems to serve the community in a holistic way. And like you said, it's a hand up and not a hand out. And that's an awesome message and mission. And I've been part of a few of your events, the events that Friends of North Rosenberg hosts, and they are a great experience. Later on, we'll get those events again from you and the dates. So you mentioned what it is that Friends of North Rosenberg does. What I would like to know now and discuss is the why. Why does Friends of North Rosenberg and the other organizations under Attack Poverty do what they do? Why does Friends of North Rosenberg do what they do? And then if you could touch on why do you, Rose Pickens, do what you do with Friends of North Rosenberg?
Okay. Well, this is something that we have identified a true need in the communities that we serve in. So through assessments, we do a door-to-door assessment prior to even stepping foot as a ministry into a community, because we want to find out what the assets of the communities are. We want to find out what the needs are. So we ask those tough questions. What do you like about your community? What do you not like about your community? What are some ways that you can see your community improving? And then from there, we build a program around what those communities' needs are. And so the areas that we have adopted are pockets of poverty that have been identified either through stakeholders in the community, or leaders, your mayors, your city council, or even your commissioners have identified in this area as an area that needs some resources to get it to the next level. So the reason that Attack Poverty does this is because we would like to see not just individuals' lives transformed, but through that transformation of individuals, communities transformed. So we have a spiritual component to all of our programs, and that we understand that through better relationships with family members, you're going to see individuals growing. Through better relationships with the schools, you'll see the growth in that community. Relationships with leaders in the community. So we saw a true need. And just to give you some little statistics about here in Fort Bend County, the two communities that we serve in, North Rosenberg, and that's where I'm the initiative director, but also North Richmond, it has the highest concentration of poverty in Fort Bend County.
Wow.
Now, that does not mean that it is the poorest part of Fort Bend County, but it has the highest concentration of people who are living at or below the poverty level.
Okay.
So in North Rosenberg alone, over 76% of the people in this community are at or below poverty level. So that's the reason that Attack Poverty has come into these communities. That's the reason that Friends of North Rosenberg exist. Now, you ask the question, why do I do what I do? And that I have to go back a little bit. I was born and raised here in North Rosenberg. I grew up a block away from where I currently live. And I saw both of my parents set very good examples for me of what it means to care for your neighbor and to take care of your neighbor. My father would often donate goods to people in need, food or clothing or shelter. My mom was very active in the community in going out and serving in the community in the church capacity. And then outside of the church capacity as well, as she saw a need, she was willing to help people. So I had those two as great examples growing up. But something happened when I went away to college. I felt a need to come back to see my community grow and to actually improve my own community. And so I got a house built here, and I can only say that it was nothing but God that led me back to this community, because I should have or could have been somewhere else, but I was drawn back to the community, and that's where I just began to work with local nonprofits on putting together events. And then I went over to the city and worked with the city as well on some improvements, some capital improvements for the north side. And then I was offered a job at Attack Poverty, and here we are.
That's awesome. One thing that stood out to me from what you said and tying into the first part, you mentioned that you change a community by changing one person at a time and being able to reach that individual. And here just now, you talked about how you were so inspired and encouraged by the character and actions of your own parents, and that led you to be the person that you are today, and to come back into the community that you were raised in, and help those that are there that didn't have maybe that upbringing that you had. And it's full circle as I see it, that you had parents that influenced you in such a great and mighty way to serve the community, and now you, in a way, wanting to give that back to these families here in the community, so that hopefully a child would grow up out of a family that is now changed and further change the community for the better. And that's awesome. How long have you been serving as the initiative director now?
So officially, I took the new position on September the 1st of last year. However, my serving in Friends of North Rosenberg goes back to March of 2014, when the initiative first launched. During the assessment, they came and asked me what I would like to see change in the community. And of course, I had some ideas about that. And I just started volunteering. So I volunteered with Friends of North Rosenberg for an entire year. And then they offered me a position at the Attack Party headquarters. And then I was blessed to be able to come back to the community that I was born and raising my family, to be able to lead in this ministry. So it's been a blessing on top of a blessing. And I'm really excited to see where God is not only leading me, but also leading my family. So I told you about my parents and the legacy that they left with me, and I'm hoping to do the same thing with my children that I'm raising, so they can see what it is to give back to the community, and not just my children, but the generations that are coming up in the community, to show them how we should be caring for one another, and how we can take one little small act of kindness and bless someone else.
That's awesome, and it's something, unfortunately, that I think. Well, I'll take that. I was going to say that not too many parents consider the legacy that they're leaving for their children. I think all parents naturally want the best for their children, but I think there's some, unfortunately, some parents that don't really consider what they're leaving behind, not just materialistic belongings, but what values are they giving their children. And it's awesome to see that you and other people as well are raising children to give back, as you said, give back to the community. The last time we spoke, you had you brought something to my attention that I really had never considered, and you had mentioned the phrase "a food desert."
Yes.
Can you speak on that for a little while?
Yeah, so North Rosenberg, our geographic area, we're north of the railroad tracks and south of the Brazos River, and it's basically one or two ways into this community and one or two ways out. And so that railroad track creates a border to a grocery store. So we don't have a grocery store in the immediate community. And so we're considered a food desert because there is not fresh fruit and vegetables, or even, a grocery store with fresh meats in walking distance. And so what happens is individuals either go without, if they don't have transportation to make it to the grocery store, which is about 2 miles away, they'll just kind of go without, or they'll make an unhealthy decision to go to the corner store and actually purchase, junk food or, quick food from a convenience store versus, being able to go and get a good quality, meal at a grocery store. So this is something that we have identified and we are well aware of. And one of the things that we're doing with Friends of North Rosenberg is we have put in a community garden. And our community garden is exactly that. It's for the community. We have 6 raised beds where we're growing everything from strawberries to tomatoes to cabbage, celery, kale, jalapenos, cilantro, all of your spices. We're growing it right there in the community, and people can come in. We encourage people to come and be a part of the sowing process as well as the reaping process. So, it's just how do you, you've identified a problem, and without building a brand new grocery store right in the community, how do you leverage what you have? So that's the design of our community garden, and we encourage homeowners to create a garden in their own backyard, and then we'll have a swap day. So if they grew potatoes and we grew cabbage, we'll swap and allow individuals to be a part of that process.
That's awesome. It goes along the lines of something we have discussed in the past, where you said that poverty isn't the core of poverty isn't a financial issue. It's more of a thinking and a issue as far as what worldview, I guess. How could you further explain that the core of poverty and what Friends of North Rosenberg is doing to help those people in that state?
So poverty is it's a mental mindset. It's a mindset of this is the way that it's always been. Poverty is generational. Very rarely will you have a wealthy family that falls into poverty. It's usually generational. So because mom and dad were poor, the next generation is going to be poor, and the generations after that are going to be in this poverty mindset. So poverty itself is not just a lack of money, a lack of stuff. It is truly a way of thinking. So what we're trying to do at Friends of North Rosenberg and Attack Poverty is to change a person's thinking, change the way that they go about seeing situations. So most of our programs, it's about empowerment. It's not a handout. So we're not going to just give you $20,000 because you think that that's what you need. However, when we empower you, we're going to get you from this $7.50 an hour job to possibly a $12 an hour job. Or we're going to talk about, hey, faith and finance. Let's look at where you're currently at financially, and let's build a budget on how to get you to where you're financially stable to be able to sustain where you're at and possibly grow and to get out of poverty. So we do understand that this is not something that can be done in a month or a year. It's going to take at least a generation. So that's the reason that we commit to a community for at least 10 years so that we can start seeing that generational change happen in the community. It's great when we do see the results instantly after we help someone to get a better job or their first job. Those are some wins, but the true win will come when we stop seeing generational poverty in individuals and in families and in communities.
What would you say is the biggest challenge for people with a impoverished mindset? What is the biggest challenge for them to overcome that?
I would say the biggest challenge is for them to realize that there is hope, that you can change. So when we have our after-school program, the name of it is You Can Academy. And the reason that we named it that was because so often people who are in poverty, they hear that they cannot all the time. You cannot be successful. You cannot get out of poverty. You cannot own your own home. You cannot. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to empower them that you can. So I believe that's probably the biggest obstacle, is to change that mind frame of what they can't do into what they can do, and then giving them the resources of how to get there. So if someone was to come and tell you, if you're standing on one side of the ocean, that you can get to the other side of the ocean, but they never give you a boat to get there, all they've given you is just a dream to be on the other side, but not the resources. So what we try to do is we try to give them the dream and the resources to get out of poverty.
That's awesome. And an awesome analogy. Just giving people a hope. And it's not just a dream, but it's reality. Like you said, it's possible. Giving them the resources, understanding, hey, people can get out of poverty as long as they change their mindset and go forward. And yes, life will pull you down and pull you back sometimes, but part of getting out of that mindset is to dust yourself off and go forward. So that's the biggest challenge, as you've stated, for those that have that impoverished mindset. What has been the biggest challenge for Friends of North Rosenberg working within that community?
I think one of our biggest challenges is definitely getting people to trust us and to understand that we're here to help them has been a challenge. So often we get different people over the past decades that have come in and said, yes, I know what you need. Here, I'm going to give you this. Or here, this is what you need. And so the challenge has been is to break that idea that we're just another organization that's here and we're going to be gone in a year, or we're just here temporarily. So just trying to get the trust of the community. I believe another challenge would be to have that partnership with the municipality, the city, the county, and just to make it a very cohesive partnership to be able to bring the resources into the community.
Like you said, it's very important to have so many people working together on the same mission, same vision of helping people, just coming together. And I would think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that part of the impoverished mindset is to think that you're just by yourself and you're doing life alone. But that's not a reality. Success, if you want to call it that, is life done with more than one person, just not by yourself, with friends and family coming along and helping you through. So if that's the biggest challenge, gaining the trust of the community. In the past 2 to 3 years, that community has been struck with floods. Can you tell us the challenges that came through those experiences and what you personally learned in serving the community during those flood events?
Yeah, so the challenge of allowing someone to come in and to help you, and you have to remember this area is poverty stricken to begin with, and there's a lot of pride that comes along with that. But you also had individuals that are undocumented. They are here and they've been here, and they may not have the proper documentation to apply for government funding, or they may not, there may be a language barrier, and so they felt that they were not deserving of the help or the resources that were available to them. So just getting past that barrier and getting individuals to know that we're here to help them. So we have, over the past going on 2 years, since Memorial Day 2016, we've been helping individuals not just with their physical restoration, but a mental restoration, a spiritual restoration. After a natural disaster, a lot of that is affected. So we've been in and we've mucked and gutted homes. We've mucked and gutted over 200 homes since the Memorial Day floods, and we've gone in and we've made crucial repairs and started the rebuild process for individuals. But more importantly, we're walking alongside of individuals to make sure that they are not only getting the resources that they need to rebuild, but to restore in them hope and actual that things will be okay, that they will be able to recover from this. So we've been really working on building relationships with individuals and not just repairing properties.
That's great. And I know it's privileged to be a part of some of those events of the restoration and the events that went towards just getting people involved in that. And I saw one of the great things that comes out of these events is so many people coming together and really the church stepping forward and showing the world what the church is all about and really putting our faith and love on display. Could you share with us ways that anyone that wants to get involved can get involved with Friends of North Rosenberg specifically, or just what people maybe in different communities can do to help out their neighbors?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually partner on an ongoing basis with over 70 churches. And the amazing thing about that is that we are allowed to get people, are able to get people out of their pews and into the streets to be the hand and feet of Jesus Christ. So we're being called to serve, and that comes in a multitude of different ways. We can serve by going out and actually just praying with individuals. So we put together a team that's our prayer team, and they may not be able to come out into the community and pray, but they may just be on an email thread to where we are emailing all of those prayer concerns to them. So that's a way to serve. Obviously, we do home repair, and we have been doing home repair, and we will continue to do home repair. On the second and fourth Saturday of every month, we send out a team that will go into a home and either put up sheetrock or insulation or flooring or paint, or even some homes have to be demolished. So we have a team for revitalization. We also have a team that will come out and serve by providing meals to those volunteers. We've had over 1,200 volunteers just since September, and we feed our volunteers. So that's a way that individuals can serve by being hospitality. We do have a couple of events that are coming up. We have Mission Week, which is June the 11th through the 14th. And Mission Week is a mission trip in your own backyard. People pay, $2,500, $3,000 to go to other communities in Nicaragua or Argentina or all these other places to go and serve when there's need in our backyard. So what Mission Week allows you to do, it allows you to come out during the week in the evening time, bring your family, bring your church group, your small group, and come out and serve together. Love on this community together. You're doing the same things. You're doing home repair. We have a kids camp where it's basically a vacation Bible school on steroids. We have a sports camp, and then we have a prayer team. Our prayer team goes throughout the community, and they pray for individuals. They pray for the welfare of the community, and they pray for our leaders in the community. So these are all different ways that individuals can get involved. I encourage everyone to follow us on Facebook at Friends of North Rosenberg to get all of the up-to-date information on when we have a service project coming up. Or obviously, we are a nonprofit, so even financial contributions are always welcome and accepted.
That's awesome. And yes, I would also encourage everyone to go ahead and follow Friends of North Rosenberg on Facebook and every venue they are on and the internet online. It is a great organization. Mission Week, which Rose just mentioned, is a great event. I was able to be a part of it last year, and it's so much fun just being there to help out in that community, help out with the children, and just hear the stories and the life of everyone there. Just being able to connect with the neighbors and community and just be a part of helping someone and changing their lives. Well, Rose, it's been a pleasure as always to talk to you and just to hear about the good work that you and everyone at Friends of North Rosenberg is doing. We hope to have you on again sometime, as maybe before Mission Week kicks off. We can get that promoted, and Breaking Bread, which is in November. So is there anything else you would like to say before we go for the day?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you for allowing your voice to get out what's happening throughout this organization. But thank you for your leadership. You've been an inspiration to so many, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the future.
Awesome, and thank you. All things for the honor and glory of God. Well, we look forward to talking to you again, and we will be praying for you, the team, and all endeavors with the Friends of North Rosenberg and Attack Poverty. Thank you so much, Rose.
Thanks.
That was such a good conversation with Rose Pickens. I love what she and the team at Friends of North Rosenberg is doing, and the organizations like Attack Poverty and Friends of North Rosenberg, what they are doing to help these communities that are in an impoverished state. I love that they're not going in to hand out charity, but they're going in with the mindset of giving them a hand up and helping them develop their community through teaching them about family values and helping them out of generational poverty. That is something that those of us who haven't experienced that really understand, that poverty is a mindset. As Rose said, poverty is not a lack of money or a lack of stuff, but it truly is a way of thinking. And hopefully this conversation helps us think of poverty differently, and that we can think about how we can help others directly, help them, give them that hand up, or how we can help people like Rose Pickens and organizations like Friends of North Rosenberg and Attack Poverty. Hopefully this conversation gets us to think about how we can help our neighbors. How can we help them? If you want to find out more, go to www.attackpoverty.org. From there, you can find out all of the work that Attack Poverty is doing. Remember, Friends of North Rosenberg, Friends of North Richmond, they are working underneath the umbrella of Attack Poverty. So if you want to find out more about how you can help this organization specifically, go to www.attackpoverty.org. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my conversation with Rose Pickens, the Initiative Director of North Rosenberg. If this podcast has been a blessing to you, then please share it with your friends and family, whatever social media platform you are on. We are most likely there too. So just share it however you can. And we would love to hear from you. So leave us a comment or drop a review. We want to hear from you. And if you have any ideas or suggestions as far as who we should have on the show, please send those comments, suggestions to radialfaith@gmail.com. That's radialfaith@gmail.com. And check out the website, www.radialfaith.com. There you'll find some show notes and quotes from today's episode 3 of Radio Faith. I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you.